Our next guest is an absolute powerhouse. She is a community developer and a social entrepreneur focused on helping women gain their financial independence. And I'm just so excited that she could be here tonight. Can't wait for you to hear more about her. All right. The other thing you need to know about her is that she was nominated by the Financial Review as one of Australia's top 100 women of influence. So, really glad that she could be here. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Mariam Mohammed. Thank you for being here, Mariam.
Thank you for having me.
Of
Thank
course.
you for being here, everyone.
Yeah, thank yourselves for being here one more time. Let's keep this going. Yes, that's great.
It's so good to see people in person.
I know, isn't it? It's great. It's really good. And it's so good to see you in person.
Oh, thank you, Joe. Good to see you.
That's great. So, Mariam, I have... where can I start? You, like I mentioned at the top, you are an absolute powerhouse in the work that you've done across community development and social entrepreneurship.
Oh, thank you.
So, well, you've received...
Says Joe. I didn't say that.
And says the AFR and the New South Wales government, who's nominated you for Woman of the Year, and Channel 7 last week named you as a young entrepreneur finalist. Yes. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, so it's not just me. We've clarified that. So, Mariam, tell us, how did you get started in community development and social entrepreneurship? Just to start at the beginning.
Absolutely. So look, I grew up in Pakistan. So community development is kind of like secondhand there because, and the reason I've kind of thought about it ever since coming to Australia is because we don't really have a state that takes care of the people in the same way that a place like Australia does. So community takes care of community. So when disaster strikes, like say the rural fires happen here and stuff, like government doesn't do jack all there. People do, right? People organize themselves, people organize resources, people take care of people. Everything from public hospitals all the way to getting people to election booths to vote, is done by community. So that is where I was growing up for the first 19 years of my life. And I think that is important to understand because when I came here, it wasn't a choice that I was making. It was just what I grew up seeing and doing. So community organizing was second nature in that sense. However, the form that it took on in Australia is very specific to, like, it added a lot of nuance to my work. Being in Australia, learning about the indigenous cultures in Australia, being a woman of color here myself, being a migrant on this land, kind of added a lot of nuances to that community organizing. So that experience is what got me started in this line of work. I arrived here in 2013 and worked a lot with migrants and refugees particularly who are in detention centers. And my ADHD brain just did a thing, and I've forgotten the second thing you asked me. Does that ever happen to you guys? Any people with ADHD here? Yeah? No? All right. Just me then.
I forgot
There's
it too.
There's definitely some of you here and you just don't realize it.
So you moved from Pakistan to Australia.
That's right.
What was your main reason for moving when you moved here?
I was escaping gendered violence. I wish there was a lovely reason, but there isn't.
That's really difficult, and I'm sorry that you experienced that.
Thank you, Joe. And humor is my coping mechanism, so bear with me as I make you very uncomfortable.
So you moved to Australia. Where did you move to? You moved to Sydney?
I did. I arrived in Sydney in 2013, so almost 8 years ago now. And I did not intend to stay here 8 years, y'all. I was like, I'm gonna study here, I'm gonna get out of here, I'm gonna see the rest of Australia, then I'm gonna see the rest of the world. Next minute, it's 2020, and I was thinking I was gonna make the move in 2020, but the COVID.
Yes,
happened.
that's right. We all know exactly what happened then. So you founded MoneyGirl. Can you tell us about MoneyGirl and why you founded it?
So MoneyGirl is a social enterprise that delivers a financial education program to young women around the country. And what got me into it, as I was mentioning to you backstage, Joe, was entirely selfish reasons. I was a young woman who needed financial education myself. Having escaped gendered violence once, I obviously did not ever want to go back to that kind of situation again. However, I found that as a young woman, as a student, I was constantly like straddling a very thin line between being secure in the now and going back to a life of violence. And like money played a very crucial role in that, as it does. Like financial control and abuse is normally a very common part of other kinds of gendered abuse. So I was basically thinking, how do I secure my future? How do I make sure I'm safe in the future? Essentially, that was the question that I was answering for myself. And as I was on this journey myself, I realized there was not a lot of information, especially for people like me, you know, women, young women, women of color. I mean, the best I could get was the Barefoot Investor, right? And that really does not apply very much to me, maybe like the first 10 pages. So I needed basically the same reason why this show is needed is I needed to see me being represented in the people who are talking about money. So I was solving this problem with myself. My co-founder was also a woman of color, grew up in Australia, different story, same problem, right? So we banded together because we're like, hell, if we're experiencing it, other people definitely are experiencing this problem. So why don't we, can't find a solution, we'll just make one. Story of every woman of color ever, changing the goddamn world.
Well, thank you for creating what you have and in supporting women in the way that you do.
This space, Joe.
Oh, well, thank you for coming.
Here's a little woman of color magic for y'all. This is what we do.
So with MoneyGirl, tell us about the women that you've met through the work that you do. Do any stories stand out to you?
Oh, so many. Okay, so obviously through MoneyGirl, while it is for everybody, people of all genders, ages, etc., inevitably the people we cater to the most are women of color, predominantly migrant and refugee women. And one of my most favorite stories from one of our graduates is this person. This is right at the start of MoneyGirl when I was still personally teaching the classes. And I don't do that anymore, but this person calls me 3 months after she's graduated from the course and says, she's like so emotional with the phone. She says, Mariam, I just wanted to let you know that when I joined the course, I had $50 in my bank account. And, they were full-time employed, but they just didn't know where the money was going. There was $50 in their bank account. But they basically learned how to manage their money better. Like their income remained the same. But she said in the last 3 months since, I've saved up $5,000 and I've moved out of my abusive household. And I was like, girl, yes!
Oh, wow.
Yes! This is what I'm here for.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yes. So I will just, and it was like right at the start, guys, like when life is like really hard for an entrepreneur, you're like, what the fuck am I doing here? Should have just been, I'm so sorry, there are kids in the audience. All righty. Sorry, kids. Yeah, so I will always remember that because it just, while you're trying to figure out why am I starting a business when I could have a stable job, it really gives you a good nudge to keep going.
What an incredible story, and that direct impact of helping someone with their situation. How did you find it being an entrepreneur, running that business and setting it all up, hiring people, just purely from that business perspective? How was that?
Look, there's definitely pros and cons, okay? So now where I'm at, my friends will say things like, oh, I get to take a day off when I want to, right? I get to work whenever I want. Also because of the nature of the work that I do, it's not retail, it's not a cafe, so I get to work when I want. And, my friends will be like, well, you're lucky you don't have a 9-to-5 job. But you know what? When you're starting a business, that stability, security, and safety is what I am giving up in order to have the freedom and independence in the future. So when I was starting out, I think like Chris mentioned, there was a lot of self-questioning of why am I doing this? When there's easier choices to be made in life, why am I making this choice? So you work at the start when you can't hire anyone, you're the person working 12, 14, 18 hours, whatever it takes, right? So it was very taxing. I did burn out within the first year, and I think that's a lesson most entrepreneurs will learn sooner or later, is you will become a workaholic and you will burn out, and then you will recover, and then you will learn how to ask for help and hire the right team to support you. I was extremely lucky to have a wonderful co-founder who is a friend first and then a co-founder. I've been lucky to have her support. I've been lucky to have a very strong network of champions and advisors, and predominantly, yes, women of color who are very solidly behind me, constantly supporting the work that I do. So it was tough, and I could not have done it, not even a little bit, if I was doing it alone.
Wow, it's incredible you've got the support that you have through your co-founder and elsewhere. That's fantastic. So let's look at some pictures, because we have some of your pictures. This first one
I can't even remember what I sent you.
We'll find it.
I thought it would be like a real plane.
We do have
I didn't
that
realize
too.
I would have to explain to y'all.
You don't have to explain. We can just go to the next one.
But no, I'll tell you. So this is from the last event pre-COVID that I did, which was Lend-Lease's Women's Day event. And I was the keynote, and I saw that because I was coming all around the office, they put up these little stickers that said #MoneyGirl on it, and I was like, oh, you guys, no, you didn't. So good. Love it.
Yeah, that's great. And do you partner with other organizations to get, to run the workshops that you do? How does that work?
I absolutely do. So our model is that we work with corporates to cross-subsidize our programs for the community. So essentially, corporates is how we make most of our money, so that we're able to provide more affordable courses to the general community.
Yeah, and so how does it work? What workshops do you run? If someone comes to you, how do you help them?
Yeah, so the course looks like a 6-week workshop where each week there is one workshop talking about one aspect of personal finance, and it's not just tools. So see, the beauty of when a community creates their own solution is that it is informed by what the community needs. So the MoneyGirl course was not just created by me and my co-founder, right? We were just the faces of the organization, but there was about 200 women consulting with us in the background, telling us what they actually needed, apart from subject matter experts who also helped us create the course. So the course is not just your tools of, how can you budget better? Because let's be honest, budgeting doesn't fix a broken system that systemically oppresses certain people. So will you read about that in The Barefoot Investor? I'm sorry, but you will not. But things like mindset, money, your money story, what gender roles that you saw growing up in the household around your finances. What does race have to do with money? What does it mean to be an Australian on Indigenous land, capitalizing on this land? You know, the conversations are not just about your money tools. It's wrapped up in a gender lens, a feminist lens, a very intersectional feminist lens. So there are topics that we cover every week that include everyday money management, taxation, superannuation, investing, love, and money. But it's all wrapped up in these very important conversations that we need to be having about money that are not just how do I build wealth.
This course sounds fantastic. This workshop sounds really great. How often do you run it? Or is this like specific times a year?
That's right. We open enrollments 3 times a year. So the next time enrollments will be open is June. Oh, so very soon. Yes, that's right. We're in May already. So next month enrollments will be open, and you can find out more on moneygirl.co. That's moneygirl.co.
What's the biggest thing you've learned from MoneyGirl and the workshops that you do? Like, is there something that you have personally taken away from it?
The workshops or the experience of running the business?
You know what? Why not both?
I had a feeling when I said it, I was like, God, I've just given it to her. That's what she's going to say. Okay, so from the workshops, I think something that was, again, an unpleasant realization for me was when we started doing the Love and Money workshop, which was not initially a part of the course, but we saw a need for it as we started delivering the course. It was a conversation that kept coming up again and again. So I realized how important money is in all relationships, not just like your romantic partnerships, but relationships between parents and children, relationships between partners, between housemates, friends, like, and how much we shy away from this conversation and how that creates an information gap, essentially, a lack of communication that results in relationship breakdowns, and how common financial control and abuse is. It's not necessarily pointed out as financial control and abuse. So I think I didn't, going in, that was not something I realized. I personally understood, like looking back, the role of financial control in my life. And that was not something I would have never labeled it financial control before MoneyGirl, you know. Business-wise, running a business, something I've learned is to not be a perfectionist. I'm a recovering perfectionist, and that's right, that it's a thing. And that's taken a lot of hard work, because I think that is what it tends to drive a lot of people who start their own things, because you have this idea in your head and you want it to come out of your head and into the real world somehow exactly as it is in your head, and that never happens, right? Like Chris was saying, it was a sloppy cake at first, right? Slippery, sloppy, is that what you said, Chris? Sorry. But that is what happens. So, and that perfectionism like drove me to overwork, to burn out, to not ask for help, you know? So that was 2020 was the year of, as I said to my sisters, 1st January 2020, I said it's the year of mediocrity for me. It's a good resolution to have.
That's a really good resolution. Yeah, that's right. And I want to talk now about some of the awards you've received, because you've gotten such incredible recognition for the work that you've done.
Thank you.
We've actually got a photo here of a couple, really. But we've got one here. Tell us about this award.
Oh, this is it. This is it. This is 7 News.
Yes.
Joe,
we do have it.
Okay, so this is me last week at the 7 News Young Achiever Awards, where I was a finalist for Young Business something of the year. Young Small Business Achiever. There we go.
Awesome. Yeah.
I got it.
Congratulations, Mariam.
Thank
That's fantastic.
you.
Put your hands
Thank
together
you.
for Mariam. That's amazing.
Oh, you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's fantastic. And so we've got another one here too.
This is New South Wales Women of the Year Awards, where again I was a finalist for Young Woman of the Year. And the reason I actually love these photos is not because of the awards, but because when I first came to Australia, I never would have imagined that I would go to predominantly white ceremonies, let's be honest, looking like me, dressed like that, with my curls, with my jhumkas,
Yes.
with my Pakistani clothes. Ugh. And now that's my like armor, you know, that's my suit of armor. So when I'm going to these spaces, which are not very representative of Australia, let's be honest, I love showing up like that. And, you know, obviously all the white people go like, oh my God, you look so beautiful. And I was like, yes, thank my ancestors.
That's right. And how have you found, because you've had incredible media interest and coverage, how have you found stepping into that role where you are more visible within different, you know, business circles and different communities? How's that been for you personally?
To be honest, I was born to do it.
Yes, I love this. This is the kind of energy. This is great.
I mean, I'm not being, just honestly.
Well, you're amazing at it.
Born to do. Yeah.
You're amazing at it, and I have to show. We're almost at time, but I have to show this particular photo, which I absolutely love. So this is from Grazia magazine, is that right?
That's right. So credits to the Grazia magazine for making me look that fabulous. I did not wake up like this. I was styled and made to look like that for a professional photo shoot by the Grazia magazine.
And what did they cover in this particular issue?
They were talking about, they profiled 4 of the Financial Review women of influence, and they picked, you know, a mix of First Nations, migrant, and other people in Australia. And there was 4 people all doing social justice work in their own fields. So lawyers, business, this, that. So I was one of those 4 people. So they were doing a profile piece on each one of us.
Yeah, great. And you've also done a bit of work with We Are the Mainstream. Can you tell us about your involvement in that as well? Because I think you just do such incredible work bringing communities together.
Oh, thank you, Joe. So we're the Mainstream was founded by Priyanka Bromhead, and is a collective for Black, Indigenous, and other women of color to gather, yarn, and create our own spaces and our own solutions. And it does, at the moment, what it looks like is ongoing community engagement. But the best thing that team does is the International Women's Day event once a year, and there's a girl version and a women's version, and so there one for school-age kids, so age-appropriate things. And it is, I've been to so many Women's Day events. I speak at so many Women's Day events, and the We Are the Mainstream Women's Day event is there's just nothing like it in this entire world. I feel it is so wholesome to be in a space where you're not the only anything, you know, and you don't have to say something and follow it up with an explanation of, oh, why did I laugh after telling you about my experience with gendered violence? Others get it, you know. In some rooms I will have to explain that, but in that room I never have to explain anything, because these are my people. They get where I'm from, and they get my experiences. So the power of the spaces like that is the community that it brings together, and how wholesome that spaces, and how much those people band together behind each other. So when I say like a community of people behind me who are always supporting my work, it is communities like that, communities like We Are the Mainstream, who uplift, really, truly uplift women of color.
Yeah, that's completely right. I've been to those events, and it's the sense of community and support is, you can really feel it.
You can literally feel it like on your skin,
yeah,
right?
It's absolutely incredible.
magical.
And Mariam, as one of the founders and the team running it, you've shown through that and through MoneyGirl the way that you bring people together. So congratulations on everything you've achieved, but also it's incredible to see you support women in particular who most need that help. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mariam Mohammed.
Thank you, Joe.